In the last 40 hours or so, Minnesota, Texas, and some other states have introduced declaratory statements of reaffirming their 10th Amendment rights. Other states are on the verge of passing or have passed 10th Amendment bills saying no gun confiscation, no martial law. We had a state representative on who's introduced one in Montana that's already done 2 readings, has a good chance of passing right now in their session. But folks want a statement in Texas about sovereignty, and that has indeed happened. And during this week, it got written up by Representative Leo Berman, representative of 6th Legislative District, Smith County, right here in the great state of Texas. And you can go up to Infowars.com and the sites and read HCR 50. But to go over that with us is the man that penned the bill and has now introduced it, Representative Leo Berman. Sir, thank you for coming on with us.
Alex, it's a pleasure to be with you. And actually, next week I'm going to file another resolution. And that resolution will do the same thing. However, it's going to cover both the 9th and the 10th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution. And what we have there now, HCR 50, just talks about our rights under the 10th Amendment. What we're doing is reaffirming our sovereignty. We're telling Washington that if you're going to mandate anything on the state of Texas, if it's not fully contained in the U.S. Constitution, we're not going to do it. And the reason we're doing this, we're taking action, is because of we understand there's going to be a federal handgun registration. We don't want him to know where all of our guns are here in Texas. And also, there's another bill, a federal hate crimes bill. If you open up your Old Testament to the Bible and read in the book of Exodus that homosexuality is an abomination, you could be charged with a crime under that bill, and that's exactly what's happening in Canada right now. So we're just saying, if it's not in the Constitution, don't tell us about it. Don't ask us to do it, because we're not going to do it.
Why are resolutions needed like this, but not just resolutions, the states acting on these resolutions? I mean, the unfunded mandates, federal gun restriction laws, Northcom announcing that they're going to be over the states and over state governors. I mean, we haven't seen this since the Civil War.
Well, you're absolutely right, and you just answered the question yourself, Alex. They're running all over us, and they can't do that. We're going to reassert our rights under the 9th and 10th Amendments and let Mr. Obama know we don't want socialism in Texas. We don't want socialism anywhere in the United States. And if you're going to push us, we're going to push back, period.
Well, for those that don't know, Bloomberg reports $9.7 trillion taken, not $840 billion. And now under the stimulus package, it's basically total federalization, just all sorts of databases and federal control. And they're talking about now taking taxpayer money and giving hundreds of billions of dollars of it to corporations and private groups and individuals. I mean, this is robbery. This is bank robbery.
It's absolute robbery. But Obama said he's going to redistribute wealth, and this is his way of redistributing wealth. And before I got back up to my office this afternoon, I was listening to talk radio in my car, and Rush was telling about much of this money going to help pay people's rent, their deposit on an apartment. It's unbelievable, but this is a direct transfer of money from our kids and our grandkids in the future to people now. And it's wrong, and it needs to stop.
Well, notice what's happened. These foreign banks have bankrupted the U.S. with their derivatives and all this garbage. They get the bailout money in October, and day one say we're not using it to unfree the mortgages now. And it's also going to inflate the money supply and devalue people's savings. I mean, this is only going to make it worse.
I think it's going to make it a lot worse. And, Alex, I'm very much ashamed that the first monies came out of the Bush administration. You know, I hate that. He should not have done anything at that time. The market would have corrected itself. I still believe the market will correct itself. It's done so for over 231 years, as long as we've been in the nation. But to spend that kind of money, it is ridiculous. You can take $50,000 to $100,000 out of that $2 trillion bailout and give it to every single family in the United States. They would buy a new car. They would pay off their home. That would do better than what he's doing right now.
Yeah, because this isn't even pure socialism. It's government bureaucracy taking over and getting us dependent. Stay there. I want to get into what the states are going to do to resist this.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
is with the 6th Legislative District of Smith County here in Texas. Representative Leo Berman has introduced HCR 50 under 10th Amendment, telling the feds back off. He's introducing a larger 9th and 10th Amendment bill next week. Tell us the difference between these two bills and why you're doing it as two parts. And then as we see 28 states, I believe this is 29th about to declare, some of them are even passing it, saying no to the system. In the early 90s, 14 states passed these, Colorado, California, and others. They're not talking about enforcing them. As things collapse, as the feds take our money, send a lot of it to foreign offshore banks, as the New York Times admits they're doing. They're buying up insurance corporations, other healthy banks. This vertical integration. Time Magazine had a headline last week, The New World Order, said a new bank of the world will regulate and control the U.S. We will pay carbon taxes to them. So can you speak to the two bills and where you see this going as the feds basically try to federalize the states, and what you think is going to happen, sir?
Well, let me answer your first question. First, you asked me about what I'm going to file next week. Next week, we're going to file a resolution which includes the 9th and the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment reasserts states' rights. The 9th Amendment says that any issue which is enumerated in the United States Constitution does not preclude a state from doing the same, and that's what the 9th Amendment is. So, for example, since the U.S. government, the federal government, is not dealing at all on illegal aliens, we're going to try and deal with 2 million illegal aliens right here in Texas. In fact, I filed 13 bills to deal with illegal aliens. We've had debates. They're costing us $4 billion a year in Texas, and across the United States, I believe the number I saw was $338 billion a year, which is more than what we're spending in Iraq.
If we gave 1/4 of that $4 billion to the state police and commanded them, because they're so federalized, to go protect the border, they could protect that border and secure it, couldn't they? I mean, couldn't $1 billion put thousands of state police on the border?
Absolutely, without question. And, Alex, since you bring that up, I'm going to bring up something else here. If we can't deal with illegal aliens in Texas during this legislative session, I intend to announce my candidacy for governor of Texas and use the executive power of the office of governor to do exactly as you just suggested, to deal with illegal aliens. We have a lot of people in Texas who don't want to touch them. I'm talking about statewide Republican leaders or statewide national leaders who have their heads buried in the sand. And when I ask them why they won't deal, their answer is they don't want to lose the Hispanic vote. And I ask them, well, what about your oath of office where you say you're going to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and the state of